So yes, this is the incredible but true story of some people who allegedly tried to steal £1 million on the most successful game show of all time, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They were an army major and his wife, Diana Ingram, played by Sian, and an alleged co-conspirator in the audience who they suggest was coughing on the right answers to help the major get to £1 million. He did, he won $1 million. People had huge doubts about whether he did it authentically. He was arrested. This case went to trial, a huge trial in England in 2003, and they were found guilty of the crimes. But our story, resurrected 15 years later, questions whether or not the perceived narrative is quite true or not, and whether or not they actually did it at all. I mean, it's quite hard to communicate how huge this story was. The reason why I wrote this TV drama and why you're in it is because when we were 18, 19 years old, this dominated the entirety of the UK. It's quite hard. It's hard to remember now that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, when it was on originally in the UK, was getting 19 million viewers, which is a third of the United Kingdom watching the same show, and it's just a game show. So when people were accused of cheating on it, people were obsessed. I was obsessed by that story.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was tabloid fodder. It was perfect, and you've talked about this before, about people at that time needing a distraction because the world was beginning to go through a very tumultuous time. I mean, Charles, the night that they actually filmed the show was 2 days before 9/11. And so this story broke in the UK, and it broke over here, but of course it was, it was superseded as a headline for obvious reasons, and so I don't think it got as sort of, I don't know, what's the word, hysterical as it did in the UK, and it was hysterical, and it influenced the trial. It's considered a trial by media, and certainly that's something I wouldn't have considered until I read James's brilliant script and was exposed to a lot of new information and things like that. And you do not have to dig very deep to suddenly realise what happened to these people and how they were exploited in their own way, and whether or not they were exploiting the system that was set up of how you could get on the show. That's still in question, but they were certainly exploited, and they were used as an example because the people that had created the show, they felt that it was under threat and that people were trying to destroy it, and they believed that Charles and Diana Ingram and them going on to win £1 million was part of that, and so they have doggedly pursued that, and they still vehemently believe that they did it, and just as Charles and Diana vehemently deny and are, they're still fighting for what they see as their justice. They're still claiming their innocence, and this is even though it's 15 years ago, this is still very much an alive issue for them. They're hoping still to clear their names.